everyone, welcome to my channel. On today's video, I'm going to be making a Barbie cake for Barbie's 62nd anniversary. I'm going to start by mixing up 2 boxes of store-bought cake mix. I pour it into my mixing bowl, then I go ahead and add in 4 eggs. The recipe only called for 3, but I'm going to be trying out a cooking hack that said to add in 1 more egg than what's called for. I'll also be adding in 2 sticks of melted butter instead of oil. Last of all, I'm going to replace the water with 1 cup of milk. Now I just mix all my ingredients up until they're thoroughly combined. I also make sure to scrape the sides of the bowl clean. While my cake batter is mixing, I prepare my baking pans. I'm going to be using this cone-shaped dress mold to make the round structure of the cake. You'll also need 2 other round cake pans to make the dress tall enough for the doll to fit in. I spray all 3 with spray butter, then I pour the batter into the prepared pans. You will need 2 different cake mixes to be able to fill all 3. Now we just place these in the oven and wait for them to bake. Once all of my cakes are done baking, I'm gonna let them cool in their pans before moving them to a rack. Now it's time to make some marshmallow fondant. I start by pouring in 1 bag of value-sized marshmallows into a bowl, then adding in 2 tablespoons of water. Now I place this in the microwave for 30 seconds. Once it's done, I mix up the marshmallow water mixture, then place it back in for another 30 seconds. I follow this process until the mixture has a nice, smooth, cream-like consistency. Next, I stir in 6 cups of powdered sugar. Now I take the fondant out of the bowl, and after covering my hands with some shortening so they won't get sticky, I begin to knead the fondant. I make sure to cover my surface with spray butter before adding in an additional 2 cups of powdered sugar to my fondant. Now I take my time and combine it all together. If it's too firm, I add in a little bit of water to soften it up. Now I just round it up and shape it into a nice smooth ball. And it's done! You can cover it in a layer of shortening, then plastic wrap, and finally a Ziploc bag to store it in the refrigerator for later use. Now I'm going to be making some buttercream frosting by first adding in 2 sticks of softened butter. I also put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla with that before mixing it all together. Once the butter and vanilla have been combined, I gradually add in 4 cups of powdered sugar. Last of all, I add in 2 tablespoons of milk to make the icing the right consistency. Now it's time to assemble the cake. I start by adding on one of my smaller cakes. I slice off the top of it so the other cake will set even on top of it. I add on a thick layer of frosting so the second cake will stay. I place it on top and also even its top off. Finally, I add on the final layer after another coat of buttercream. Now I cut off the edges of the bottom 2 layers so the whole cake is round. Once the cake is assembled, I'm going to cover it in a crumb coat layer of buttercream frosting. This step here is a little tricky, but it helps to keep the cake together. It's also delicious. I cover my surface with powdered sugar before putting my fondant on it. Now it's time to roll it out. This step here was really tricky for me because I let my fondant sit in the fridge for a few hours, so it's really hard, but I just kept rolling and working with it and giving it a little time to soften up. Finally, as you can see, I got it pretty flat. Now I place the sheet of fondant over my cake. I smooth it out and use my fingers to make pleats at the end of the dress. Now I cut off the excess fondant all around the dress with a knife. For the top part of my doll's dress, I actually wanted it to be black, so I'm gonna be dyeing my fondant. First, I add in some green food dye. Once the green's all mixed in, I add in some blue food dye. And last of all, we're finally gonna add in some black food dye to the fondant. Yes, I know, it was a very big mess. But it works, because now we have some beautiful black fondant. Now I just roll it right out with my fondant roller. Now with a heart-shaped cookie cutter, I'm gonna cut out a top for the doll. With the heart shape, I molded around the doll to make a cute top. And it's finally time to add the doll into the cake. I cut down the center with a knife, then pressed the doll down into it. Here is the main design of the dress. I think that it looks pretty nice. I'm going to be using some sugar pearls to decorate the doll's top with. I placed them all along the edge of the top like real pearl beads. As for decorations on the skirt part of the dress, I'm gonna cut out round circles using a roller from a Play-Doh set. Now I place the circles onto the skirt to make a cute polka dot pattern. To make them stay, I did have to add a little bit of water on their backside. To make it look even cuter, I added on some smaller polka dots of a different size. Now I just continue to cover the dress in polka dots until I have as many as I like. I also add a pearl bead into the center of the smaller polka dots. I clean off any black blemishes on the white part with a wet rag. And for the last part of the dress, I'm gonna be dyeing the rest of my buttercream frosting pink. Now I just pipe it along the edge of the dress line. I also added a little bit of pink near the top. To give the dress a little sparkle, I add on some silver sanding sugar. And here we are with the completed cake. I think the dress turned out really cute. This was my first year using fondant, but I do think it turned out pretty good. I really am satisfied with the results, and I can't wait to do this again next year. I did the black and white design as a callback to Barbie's original 1959 style. Happy 62nd birthday, Barbie! And as always, I must remind you guys to like, comment, share, and subscribe, plus also turn on the notifications bell. Thank you guys so much for watching.